In this lecture, I'm going to teach you two things. One is set points, another is rebuild. I have two lines in there, one is curve, one is polyline. And let's turn on the control point. As you can see, all of the control points are up and down, they're not inlined. Although we can manually try to align them, but if you zoom in, they're not really inlined. So what are we going to do is going to use a command called set point. Go to the pull-down menu and select set points. Let's make sure nothing is selected. Set points. Yeah, and we could select all of the control point on the top and press enter. And it come up with a window. Yeah, we need to look at this. There's a X and Y and Z. What this allows you to do is to set either the X direction or the Y direction or the Z direction at the same level. So which one are we going to set according to all of this point? So to make them in line on the top view, we need to look at the symbol at the corner. We can see this is X direction, this is Y direction. Looks like we're going to need to set the Y out at the same level rather than the X. So let's select Y and remove the other two and then click on OK. So what happened, of course, you can move up and down at any places, and we can just click anywhere on the screen which looks good for us. Yeah, so in this case, I set all of these points at the same Y, so they're in line at Y direction. And we could do the same for the bottom one. Go to transfer, go to set points. Again, we're going to set the Y and click on OK. And all of them are in line. And about the two endpoints, we could also set points and the same as Y. So by this case, we modified them and put the control point out at the same level. If we're going to do a different one, for example, if let's select two of them and go to set points, and let's say this time we're going to, instead of setting the Y, we're going to setting the X. What will happen? Let's have a look. Select the set X. What happened is this 2 point merged into one on our top view because the Y was already set to be the same, and then when we set the X, which goes horizontally, this 2 point become 1 point. That's probably not what we want to do. So press Ctrl Z. Yeah, so that's basically the set point. You can set X and Y and Z, but before you set the point, you need to look at the symbol at the corner and to understand which direction you want to align them. For example, if I drag some of the point up and down, and I realized that they really shouldn't be up and down. They should be all at the same level and in line with my line, or at the zero. So what are we going to do is we need to set, if we look at the symbol, there's Z. Z represents the height, which is the vertical direction. So we would need to set the Z in this case. We click on set point and remove X and set Z. So in this case, we could set Z. We could probably just drag it anywhere that, or snap to any of the point or even the line, so that they will all come down to the zero height. Yeah, so that's how we set the point. The next thing is about rebuild. For example, We could use the same curve, and the tool rebuild is under fillet curves, but fillet curves is really an editing tool for lines. There are so many options. We're going to use the rebuild, which looks like a hammer. Click on rebuild and read this panel. What it says is 11. That 11, let's close this, turn on the control point. That 11 represents the numbers of control point. We have 11 control points on this line. So let's do it again. Go to rebuild and select the curve, press enter. So what we can do is we can add more control point or reduce by keying a number here. Let's say we are going to use 5. So in this case, we're reducing 11 control point to 5. Ignore all the rest and click on OK. Yeah, in this case, we reduced. What this does is sometimes you have a lot of control points and sometimes you have too few. By doing rebuild, you can add or remove control points. And if we change to 20 and say OK, however, you can see there's a lot of more control point but however, it doesn't really bring back the curve that we had before. It sort of follow the one that you already created, but just by adding more control point. So this could be useful at some other point in the future. And let's look at this polyline here. The next thing we're going to look at it is if we look at the rebuild, and of course there's a number of control points which you can read as 7 here. And then there's also another item called the degree. What this degree is, degree you can understand as curviness. So basically degree of curviness. And the degree goes from 1 to 3. You would never go beyond 3, so you should not have degree 5 or degree 4. Degree 1 represents there's no curviness. As you can see, this is a polyline, it's all straight, so there's no curviness to it. However, we could change, we could also change and add a few more control points, and we could change the degree from 1 to 2, which will make the line a little bit more curvy, instead of degree 1, which represents no curviness at all, and we could have a little bit of curviness to it. And let's say, click on OK. So as you can see, this line become a little bit curvy just by changing the degree, by doing rebuild. And if we rebuild again, we could change it to 3. It would probably become a little bit more curvier than 2. Let's just have a look. Yeah, it changes, however, it doesn't really tell you a lot of more about the difference between 2 and 3 if we just look at simply the line. If I just randomly draw a curve and then use rebuild, we could change the degree. Now the degree is 3. If normally you just simply built, the degree would be normally, if you just draw a curve, it normally starts with 3. However, we could change, if we don't want to change the control point, just key in the same number, and we could change the degree to 1. So if we change the degree to 1, as you can see, it becomes a straight curve. So we will use this degree and we will use the set point at a later time, and these two are both very important tools that we need to know.